Hi, all you cool people. I'm Steve Manning. This is my new book, Pimps, Whores, and Patrons of Virtue. Now, my publisher asked me to record a few words about the book and about me, and then he asked me something insane. Be brief. You might as well ask me to be taller and better looking. Not going to happen. This is not a novel. It's not My Great Gatsby. What this is an anecdotal trip down a wonderful and mostly incomprehensible world of the human condition and the human spirit, and it is incomprehensible and is remarkably complex. So, Pimps, Whores, and Patrons of Virtue is 32 individual pieces, 35 years of my observations, reflections, projections, correspondence, life experiences, stamp-filled passports, millions of miles traveled, fascinating and fascinatingly interesting people, and then some really fascinating, boring people. It's anecdotes, it's stories, it's essays, it's writing, white papers, it's even correspondence. And all of that ends up being as entertaining, as challenging as the title suggests. Of course, let's be clear, it is all about people. But for people, this whole living thing would be just a snap. A mindless snap, but a snap. Is that a good thing? Yeah, it's easy. Yeah, it's a great thing. Is that a fun thing? Hell no. It's mindlessly boring. Now, talking about Pimps, Whores, and Patrons of Virtue. You and I, we put people in 3 cigar boxes. They're pimps, and they are whores, and they are patrons of virtue. I hold that there are 9 patrons of virtue for every virtuous person. However, how many virtuous people do you really know? It is hard to live a virtuous life because in our world today, when you try the hardest is when life interferes with it. Most of us are going to become situationally ethical. What does that mean? You're going to bend with times, bend with facts, bend with circumstances. Otherwise, you're going to break. That's how it really goes. Now, whores. Don't be put off by the word whore. It's not intended to be salacious or provoke or pretentious. Now, if it sells books, it's a good thing. But it's amazing that you find ubiquitous instances of the scale of whoredom. It's not like being pregnant. You either are or you're not. But there's that many different degrees of whoredom. It's all about people, how you lead your lives, and the effect of what you do in your life. So now let me just say something about my cynical view of life. As you will see throughout the book, I address the cynical view of life. Life is fun for the inconsistencies of it, incongruities of it, not for the ordinary. Now the cynical life, it is a complex sense of major disappointments and minor triumphs. Best pay attention to those minor triumphs, or they just go screaming right over your head and you miss it. Then you're miserable. Now, by and large, think about this, uncomfortable as it may be, life is in fact one long, overwrought, nerve-wracking, exhausting event. Again, pay attention, because you're going to be exhausted no matter what. Might as well try to enjoy it. Now here's another wonderful Americanism that you get to hear everywhere and read everywhere. Well, it's common sense. This is common sense. Isn't that common sense? That's all common sense. So I think about common sense. Tell you what, if I believed in common sense, I would toss my laptop in the Pacific, I'd grow a beard down to my belly button, put on a grass skirt, and get stoned on a beach in Pavuvu. Common sense is what tells us that the earth is flat. Does that not make sense to you? To me, common sense is just a very large load of crap. We all try to bottom line life. You can't bottom line life. It just keeps on rolling on. The best I can offer for that is something on my little teleprompter, which says life is not a dress rehearsal. We're doing this now. We may never do it again. Best we focus and do it right this time. So I have to give you the keys to happiness. First, you have to be able to get through an ordinary day. How do you do that? You do that with love, with humor, labor. You got to throw in labor, or Freud will roll out of your bed and beat you about the head with a baseball bat. And then an attempt at balance. To achieve balance in life is really complicated. And then some of us may get lucky and be able to throw in fairness into the mix. You hear this all the time. Hey, life's not fair. Let's try not to accept that. Now, about my book. I'm told I write for intelligent, well-informed, discerning, readers, and that a sense of humor and some intelligence is really a must. That describes all of you. So get really comfortable. Put on your rattiest old t-shirt, pour yourself a glass of wine. Cheap wine is fine, a cold beer, and then some of you may just want to start a Valium IV drip. Then read Pimps, Whores, and Patrons of Virtue. Thank you.